Hi guys! So in today's video I am going to be doing a tutorial based on this look. This is based on and inspired by My Little Pony Rarity. My daughter loves My Little Pony. This one is a little bit more difficult than the other ones, but it's fine. It's easy. You can do it. I promise you can do it. So if you like what you see and want to see how to get this look, then just keep watching. First, I'm priming my eyelids with the Maybelline Fit Me Concealer in the shade 15 Fair and blending that out with a dampened beauty sponge. Using the KathleenLights palette by Morphe, I'm using that light shade and setting that concealer using the Real Techniques setting brush. And then using the shade Generosity in the My Little Pony the Movie palette. I'm using the Crease 415 brush by Pallette and buffing that color into the crease. And using a brush by Wet n Wild, it's just a pinched fluffy blending brush. I'm going into the shade marked Brow Bone in the Wet n Wild palette called Floral Values. And I'm just applying that to the outer corner of the eye. And then I forgot to put tape on, so I'm doing that now. And this just will help create a winged eye look. And then using the Marc Jacobs palette called the Tease, I'm using that mid-tone purpley shade and applying it to the outer corners and then buffing it into the crease quite a bit using the base shadow brush by Real Techniques. And I'm building up that color quite a bit. And then using the Expert Wear Luminous Lilacs palette by Maybelline, I'm going into the darkest shade labeled Liner. And I'm putting that in the outer corner of my eye using the Eco Tools blend brush. And then using the darkest shade in the Marc Jacobs palette, I'm using the smudge brush by Eco Tools and applying that right along the line of the tape on the outer corner of my eye and into the crease. And blending that out with the Eco Tools blend brush. You can use any purple eyeshadows that you have as long as you have at least 3 colors to work from light to dark. And then in the Saharan palette by Juvia's Place, I'm using the color Chad, and this is just a really pigmented black shade, and I'm applying the teeniest bit and building up really slowly. Black can get really dark really fast, and I don't want a lot. I just want a hint of darkness on that outer edge. And I'm just applying that with the smudge brush by Eco Tools and blending it in with the blend brush. Okay, and this is where it can get a little bit more difficult, but just go slow and build it up little by little. I'm using a flat shading brush by Wet n Wild. None of these Wet n Wild brushes are labeled, I'm sorry. And I'm applying the same concealer that I used at the beginning right over top of the shadow that I just laid down. You can still do this look if you have slightly hooded eyes. I do, and I think it turns out great. If you'll notice, I relax my eyes and then open them a little bit more just to show where that fold of skin is, so I can apply the concealer right over top so that a lot of the cut crease will show when I have my eyes open. And I'm just building up really slowly. And after I had the concealer all laid down, I used my finger to blend out the outer edges. You can use your fingers or a brush. I used both. Both work just as good. And then using the shader brush by Eco Tools, I'm going into the shade Rarity in the My Little Pony palette and setting that concealer with that white shade. And I'm using the Wet n Wild blending brush and dipping into a lighter shade of purple and just blending those edges just a little bit. And I'm doing the same thing with the Eco Tools blend brush with the darkest shade in the Marc Jacobs palette. Just blending those edges so it allows a smooth transition. And then with the glitter primer by NYX, I'm taking another Wet n Wild brush. This is the same kind of brush that we used earlier, just a little shorter. And I'm applying that glitter glue everywhere that we had applied the concealer and the white eyeshadow. And then with the NYX Glitter Brilliants in the shade Ice, I'm using a shader brush by Zari and just packing that on and tapping that glitter into that glitter glue. And then after I applied most of the glitter, I could then see where I missed some spots. So I went back in with the glitter glue and the Wet n Wild brush and then applied the glitter to any of those bare patches. And then just blending that in just a teeny bit. And then using the eyeliner brush, I'm going into the darkest shade of the Marc Jacobs palette and applying that just above where we put the glitter, just to increase the contrast and darken that area up just a little bit. And blending that out really well. And then I removed the tape, cleaned up all the fallout and glitter, and then I did my face makeup off camera. And combining the two light purple shades in the Wet n Wild palette, I applied that on the lower lash line. And then using the darkest shade in the Maybelline palette, the Real Techniques Precision Smudge Brush, I applied the darkest shade right along the outer corners of the eyes. And then with an Almay eyeliner in the shade Purple Amethyst, I applied that to my waterline and tight line. And then with the utility brush and the Rarity shade, I highlighted my brow bone. And then with the Nubian 2 palette by Juvia's Place, using the color Zuri, I applied that to my brow bone and the inner corners of my eye. And then after curling my eyelashes and applying a little bit of mascara, I'm using the Salon Perfect Stacked Lashes. It combines the styles 52 and 615, and it makes them a lot fuller, a lot more voluminous and dramatic. And then for my lips, I'm using the Miracle Matte Lip in the shade Bare Honey by Flower Beauty. Okay, and that completes this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I really like how it turned out. It's very fashion forward. I love the lashes and the glitter. If you enjoyed this, then make sure to hit the thumbs up button so I know whether or not to keep making these types of videos, and make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye! I wish you could see how glittery this really is in person. It looks fantastic.